Now, I have the pleasure of bringing Jason Mariani onto the show. Jason is an audio engineer extraordinaire. We're very lucky that he has brought his world-class talent for sound capturing and manipulation from New York and LA to our little town here in Ojai. He is co-owner of Carbonite Sound, the amazing facility that he works out of every day, and it's literally right down the street. Let's meet Jason, shall we? Jason, come in. All right. Hello, hello, hello.
How are you doing?
Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here.
Glad to have you in my little studio compared to your humongous studio.
Well, they all do the same thing.
They do. They do. They use these things.
Yes, they do.
Microphones.
Mm-hmm.
So, Carbonite Sound. Can you tell us a little bit about the name?
Sure. Well, the studio was formerly known as Brethren Studios that I was involved in, and I was separating from a couple partners, my friends Jesse Siebenberg and Todd Hannigan, and Dan Grimm was coming in to kind of join forces. And we were just trying to figure out it's a new thing, so we need to figure out a new name. Went through a list of literally hundreds of different names. Yeah. Everything was either too stupid, too dorky, which is hard to believe, or like a million other places already had the name, and now with the internet, you want to be able to be searchable pretty well.
Sure.
And both of us happen to like Star Wars, and the name Carbonite, the word Carbonite just kind of rolled off the tongue really well, and it kept. We kept thinking, all right, that's cool, maybe, and just kept kind of cycling around, and eventually it was just like, no, we keep coming back to this, so it's got to be it.
That's great.
So,
and it was available.
It was available.
Amazing.
Yeah, there were no other studios called Carbonite in any way, shape, or form on the planet that we could find.
Not in the Outer Rim or anything?
No, not on the Outer Rim. No, definitely not in the core worlds, for sure. No. So
both of us are Star Wars nerds.
Yes.
Truth be told.
Mm-hmm. We're at the point where we have a tauntaun on the wall. So, yes. And
did I hear that you're going to get frozen in carbonite at some point?
We're hoping to, yeah. We're hoping to get molds of ourselves frozen in carbonite someday.
That's
put
awesome.
them up on the wall and really kind of do it up.
Oh my God. Amazing. I want an honorary one.
Once we figure out how it's being done,
yeah,
we'll figure out if we can figure out some sort of a Groupon thing or something.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, one of the things that I know this guy from is the way that he experiments with sound. And we've hung out a million times, and he's told me all these crazy stories. And there was one in particular where you were talking about how you had pieces of tape strewn everywhere in the studio. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. This was kind of early on when I was really just learning this stuff. And when I first started, we were still recording the tape, but we were mostly just using 2-inch tape machines that you would use for lots of tracks together. And the studio that I worked in, it just happened to have lots of 4-track tape machines, half-inch machines, and then 2-track quarter-inch machines. So I started learning about tape loops and things that people used to do by that point, because this was in the 90s, and now you could do it differently.
Right.
But I wanted to still just teach myself how things were done. So you would just start I would usually start with a click sound or something that was useless, and then use effects to turn it into something, and then create loops and then put them to the tape machines. And then you would figure out where your loops started and ended, and then you would edit that. And in order to kind of keep them, you had to have the tape tensioned. The tape needs to be in tension the whole way, but if these loops are bigger than the machine, then you have to use a mic stand to kind of... as something that it wraps around and kind of goes through.
Right.
So I did have this one night or weekend, whatever it might have been, where I just decided I was going crazy and just going to figure all this stuff out. So between the control room where the console and things are, and the recording rooms, I had something like 9 tape machines rolling in different ways, shapes, or forms, and different lengths of things, and totally thought I was by myself, and it was just this weird, trippy soundscape that I had been creating, and I'm just sitting at the console and enjoying myself and just kind of figuring it out.
Watching the tapes go
Yeah,
around.
watching everything go. That's as hypnotic as the sound was. I got walked in on by my boss. He just had no idea what the hell I was doing. He just kind of walked in, looked at me, and just kind of shook his head and just went, have fun, and just kind of walked out.
Okay. So. You weren't fired?
No. That was kind of encouraged.
Okay.
I was a staff engineer. The more I knew, the more I could do for them.
Well, and that comes across in what you do at Carbonite, because we did a session there recently. Well, it was back in February, right before the pandemic kicked in, which amazing timing.
Yeah.
And so we were doing recording my record, and so you set up we had a 4-piece drum set. So that's like a snare, a kick, 1 and 2 toms, and then a couple of cymbals. Mm-hmm. And you
I
went
believe
crazy.
Yeah, I know. I definitely, like, there's people out there just going, why? You know, like, it's kind of overkill. It's definitely overkill. Yeah. But in the sense of, I think it was 27 microphones that wound up on it, 27 or 28 mics.
Yeah.
And really, it's just a matter of, like, in modern recording, especially with a project like yours, where you want to have so many options to go in so many different directions. Yeah. We all have plenty of processors, but if you can capture lots of different concepts of what the drum kit could be in one felt swoop, then you in essence have a million things to play with from song to song as you go. Right, because these days with budgets, you don't really, like where they are, you don't really have the ability to sculpt a drum sound for just one song. Right. And then spend the whole day on that one song and then move on. It's easier to have the options to just turn things off you don't like for that song rather than wish you had them later. Right. And then I went a little nuts.
Well, we have a Mixdown episode that is being finished right now, but we have a little teaser from it that we'd like to show you. It's about 3 minutes, and kind of shows a little bit of the crazy-ass drum setup that you have, with 27 or 28 mics.
Yeah,
so
whatever it was.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Hey Sundogs, I'm in Ojai, California at Carbonite Sound recording the basic tracks for my own solo album. Now, you recognize this place before if you've watched other Mixdown episodes. This is Brethren Studios, but it's now been rebranded as Carbonite Sound. I've brought together some of my favorite musicians from Ojai that you might recognize from other Mixdown episodes, and my favorite music producer, Will Robertson from Atlanta. I've put together this all-star cast along with Jason Mariani, the recording engineer and part owner of this studio, to create my album, and I can't wait to show you around. So let's turn it up and mix it down.
UndergroundSun is an independent record label and music studio. We're here to connect with the music community by sharing our unconventional knowledge and by creating conversation about songwriting, recording and production techniques, and all things music business. Welcome to the Mixdown.
When we use the term recording the basics, we're talking about recording the foundational rhythm elements. So that means drums, bass, guitars, keyboards. Anything that lays down the rhythm. So I'm going to pass it over to Jason, and he's going to take you through all the crazy setups that he's got rolling for this recording session.
Hey, I'm Jason. This is Carbonite Sound, and this is a crazy-ass drum setup. Way too many microphones for way too small of a kit, but it's definitely worth doing every once in a while, for modern production anyway. Well, on the snare, standard initially is an SM57 on the top here. Just unscrewed and then held at an elbow and taped so that it's easier to get rejection from the hi-hat while pointing at the snare and getting some distance. On the top of the snare, the other snare mic is some weird old EV broadcast microphone, the model number of which I have no idea. And you can't find it on it, it just says dynamic microphone on the actual badge. So the bottom snare mic is a Biodynamic M160, which is a small ribbon microphone, hypercardioid, pointing away from the strainers, basically trying to keep it equidistant from the bottom head as the 57 is from the top of the head, so that they'll be perfectly out of phase, so I can flip the phase on the bottom head. And making sure that the strainers are not right at where the mic is pointing so that it doesn't get too much sizzle, because they're gonna get there. So that's a simple one. The 57 and the 160 are slightly EQ'd, and that's it. This particular one is getting smashed through a compressor, so it's getting a lot of like the ring of the snare itself and the body of it that can be kind of snuck underneath all of it.
All right. There it is. So the new Mixdown episode's coming soon, and it is like 20 minutes of the explanation of all the crazy
drums.
mics. Yeah. Not just the drums. You got bass and
Sure,
guitars
everything used.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
Very true.
But it's very entertaining.
Mildly drum centric.
Yeah. Well, I'm a drummer, really, originally,
works.
so it makes sense. Now, I want to mention, because we do live streaming, but you and Carbonite also do live streaming.
Yeah, we started doing a series we're calling Carbonite Live, and it's rather than the format you're doing, we're basically doing it in the studio, but we're slowly working it to the point where it just feels like a live show. It is a live show, basically, but obviously without a crowd there.
Right.
So bands are able to come in. We have a system now where we have an 8-camera setup, and we do live switching. And yeah, we've recently invested in all kinds of like stage lighting and things like that. So everything can be computer controlled now.
Ooh, fancy.
Oh yeah. One more thing to keep an eye on.
I have watched a few of them, and they're awesome, and they sound amazing, of course.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you very much.
have 87 mics on the drums. And
Yeah, I don't go that crazy for those. I keep it a little bit more straightforward, but it's a lot of fun because I've spent so much time basically as studio guy.
Yeah.
Where you get to be, even though like we might get a bunch of sounds up that'll work for lots of songs on a record, you still move slowly from one song to the next. And whereas with a live situation, I basically have to I'm flying by the seat of my pants at the faders, trying to interact effects with the band and things to inspire them while they're still doing things. And it's a lot of fun. It's nerve-wracking, but more than a little bit, but a lot of fun. Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, if you want to check out some of their live shows, go to carbonitesound.com. And I think it's a little portal where you
you'll get over to the Carbonite
and,
Live page. Yeah. There are a couple that are up there where the paywall's been removed, but you get to find them on your own.
Okay. Sneak around.
Yeah.
But give him a few bucks. Come on. It's worth it. He's working hard over there.
I'm trying.
Well, thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it. Please go to their website, carbonitesound.com, to learn more about the amazing studio and to check out their live stream concerts. So thanks for being here, and we're going to carry on with some more show.
All right.
So